Taming the Demon by Ami Loveskiro. Chapter 30. To rainy day, sunny day. As expected, the rain came down hard on game day. The field was quickly turning to mud, and everyone was going to be filthy and soaked by halftime. The only way this could have been more fitting for their battle was if it was the final match instead of the semis. Oh well. The coin toss was really just a formality. Damon would opt for offense, Ojo for defense. Either way, Damon took first possession of the ball. It was nearly guaranteed that Ojo would kick it to Ishimaru's side of the field to keep iShield 21 out of play, so Hiruma made them switch just as the ball was in the air. The kid caught it and was almost immediately overwhelmed by the White Knights. The other Devil Bats rushed to his aid, but the more they fought, the more the blonde was reminded that many of these players won their defensive Tokyo Best 11 titles for good reason. Otawara was nothing short of a nightmare to deal with now that he's discovered he's got speed to go with his strength. Sena barely managed to edge under his arm to where Shin was waiting for him. As they say, from the frying pan into the fire. Or maybe not, because there's a new idiot on Ojo that swerved in out of nowhere and knocked Sena completely out of bounds. The ref blew the whistle, but it seemed the idiot either didn't notice or care because he wasn't stopping until Jumonji stepped between them. Otawara came over and collected the idiot, laughing about how Ikari had even less brains than Otawara himself did. It said something that the entire Ojo team agreed with the lineman. Jumonji, who had been shaking off the confrontation with Ikari, seemed to take this particular fight very seriously when he figured out that the idiot was actually a former delinquent just like himself and his buddies. Judging from the piles of chains at the Ojo bench, the nickname Prison Chain Ikari was meant quite literally. Hiruma figured that it was just as well that Ikari had interfered, as Sena hadn't been totally prepared for a confrontation with Shin. The kid was something of a slow starter and needed a little time to build himself up a bit. So the quarterback started with pass plays. First was a super short pass to Ishimaru. You just said you'd stop Ikari. Do your job, Jumonji! And then the real play started. But not just any pass play. No, they went with the shotgun! The blonde's sharp ears picked up Chien chuckling at their audacity from the stands. The Ojo players had barely gotten into position when Hiruma started the play, but they rallied pretty quickly. Sort of. Why was Shin marking Yukimitsu? Who set that up? Not that Damon's complaining, but Shin was the only one who could keep up with Sena's speed. Doesn't matter anyway. Manta was being marked by Iguchi, whom, while another one of the defensive Tokyo's best 11, was not EQ by any stretch of imagination. Manta snatched the ball away from the cornerback and pulled the team to a point only 32 yards from Ojo's goal line. Of course, it was only going to get more difficult from there. It was immediately apparent that the only person to compete with the monkey was Sakuraba, and they had no problem adding him to the defensive lineup as well as his usual position on offense. On top of that, somewhere along the way, he had found enough confidence to not slouch, and that added at least 5 centimeters to height alone. On the top of Manta's spiky head barely reached the blonde receiver's shoulder. In Damon's next 3 attacks, they advanced exactly 0 yards. It was Musashi's turn to give it a go. The old man didn't disappoint. First point of the game went to Damon. However, as Takami so eloquently put it, 3 points is not a victory, especially not against a team that hasn't taken lost a touchdown all season. It was now Ojo's offense. And Takami is a bastard. The very act of telling Damon which side the ballista will target, regardless if it was truth or lie, threw them all into confusion. The brats got too caught up thinking about the forewarning to properly brace themselves for whatever attack the White Knights threw at them. The result was a first down for Ojo. Shin could lift Karita! What the heck was this monster made of? In the end, though, even the ballista itself was a disguise. The brats became fixated on blocking Shin just in time for Hiruma to notice the Ojo line forming a pass wall. It was time for the Everest pass, and the monkey couldn't catch up with Sakuraba to save his life. Good thing Hiruma was prepared. Except Takami expected Hiruma to be prepared and adjusted accordingly. Sakuraba scored a touchdown, putting Ojo in the lead 6-3. The only consistent advantage Damon had over Ojo was in kicking, as evidenced by the White Knight's failed try for point. It was Damon's offense, but Shin was beginning to display the closest thing to impatience that Hiruma had ever seen from him. The stoic linebacker blitzed and blitzed again, and hell, that trident tackle hurts, proving just how ineffective any pass plays are against Ojo. Shin wanted to battle Sena one-on-one, and Hiruma had no choice but to oblige him. So he handed off the ball and moved to help the line break open a hole for the kid to break through. Not that he really needed to. It seemed that Ojo was just as eager to witness this final battle between perfect player Shin and light speed Sena. For one glorious moment, Sena won. Then Shin ruined it. That bastard calmly stated that in order to defeat Sena, he had to break into that same world of light speed. He said it as if it were simple, as if the small running back hadn't devoted his life to running. Things rapidly went downhill. Shin flattened Sena again and again and finally scored a touchdown. This time their kick succeeded and Ojo was now in the lead 13-3. There was only one option left to Damon, and it wasn't one that Hiruma liked to think about. However, he still sent off the hand signs to the manager. She didn't look too happy about it either, and watched her run off with the recordings she had made of the plays up to now. Of course, Anazaki leaving wasn't exactly subtle, so the other Devil Bats noticed and clued into Hiruma having a plan. Sena gave him a look, though, like the kid knew Hiruma's only plan was an absolute last resort. In the meantime, he rearranged his power plays to give the little running back some buffers between him and Mr. Trident Tackle. Not that they ended up working. In the following run plays, though, Sena regained some of his self-confidence by dancing around the idiot Ikari and making consecutive first downs. He and Shin had what seemed to be an exchange of compliments, except that was Demon shining out of Sena's eyes. Demon simply didn't do compliments. They made enough distance for Musashi to get another kick in, but by now people were starting to realize that Damon was taking too long in getting points. So he huddled them up and explained that he didn't have a clue how to defeat Shin, but he would find one with Anazaki and Doboroku during the 20 minutes of halftime. Kurita asked if such a weak point even existed. An image of a gun hitting the dirt under Sena's arm flashed through Hiruma's mind. Such a thing as an invincible guy doesn't exist in this world. So the Devil Bats gave him their faith and promised to hold the gap at 7 points for the remaining 4.5 minutes. In an attempt to cut off the Everest pass, Hiruma put both the monkey and the idiot on marking Sakuraba, but that tool Takami simply gave the ball to Shin, and then, as if to rub salt in the wound, completed an Everest pass with the double mark. And they kept at it, pulling closer and closer until there was 13 seconds left to halftime and Ojo was in scoring position. Then something peculiar happened. Takami, set to pass to Sakuraba, stalled his throw and instead passed to some no-name player near the sideline. In that moment, something had frightened him. The blonde quarterback would analyze that moment later, once they survived the first half and he had solved the puzzle of Shin. Right now, however, No Name had a clear shot to the end zone and nobody could get over there in time! God damn it! Barely a foot from the goal line, Demon brutally shoves the White Knight off the field. The Rage Persona was having none of Ojo's crap, and Damon was saved by the skin of her teeth once again. It was halftime and the rain was picking up again. The Ojo players retreated to their bus, and Noboroku rolled up in a brand new 18-wheeler that doubled as the Devil Bat locker room. Anazaki was already inside looking footage of Shin. She also set a timer. They went over everything. Every step, Every reach, every tiny movement Shin made until the solution revealed itself. The utterly impossible solution. Sena was going to have to beat Shin with strength. Shin's run was 4.2 for the 40, exactly the same as Sena's, but Shin had the advantage of reach. Upon acceleration, he extends his arm and unleashes the bone-breaking trident tackle. To counter this, Sena would have to accelerate at the same time and tackle Shin before he could fully extend his arm. They needed a miracle. Hiruma tried not to listen as the kids discussed the physical differences between Shin and Sena. He could out-bench press Sena by 100 kilograms and outweighed him by almost 30 kilograms. The kid was gonna get killed because he knew that the small brunette had something extra to pull him through, something that let him walk in a world of monsters without hesitating. Something that had the gall to claim Hiruma Yoichi as his own so many months ago in the middle of American Midwest. He had a demon. Musashi kicked the ball with all his might and parted the clouds above them. Right off the bat, Shin and Sena met in the middle. Demon put all his power into the heart bump to take Shin down and was blocked. Shin blocked the bump with his arm and sent the running back flying back into the mud. But it was okay because he stood back up and still had that same fire in his eyes, even if he didn't have a clue what to do next. But the fire was catchy, it seemed, because suddenly the whole team was flaming, and every single one of them was quite obviously pointed at Shin. Hiruma almost called a timeout to settle them down before deciding that would be counterproductive. They were 15 yards from Damon's goal line, and Takami threw his pass. Sakuraba dodged around the monkey's bump and took off down the field, and the monkey took off after him, not bothering to turn back for a glance at the ball. He was right in front of Sakuraba when he jumped for the ball that he still couldn't see, and probably would have caught it too if the tall blonde hadn't jumped as well, disregarding the imminent risk of collision. But that was part of Manta's plan. Manta didn't need to catch the ball, he just wanted to knock it out of Sakuraba's reach. The ball flew from the pair into Hiruma's own arms for an interception. It was Damon's offense. But first, Hiruma wanted to know how the heck the monkey had managed to see the pass from the back of his head. The receiver gave a proper answer, but all Hiruma could hear was 10 years experience chasing balls. The blonde deduced that the monkey could probably only manage to see about 60% of Takami's trajectories because he's unfamiliar with Takami's passes. On the other hand, he had caught so many of Hiruma's passes that he should see them with 100% accuracy. The quarterback named this move the double backfire and sent the monkey out to execute it. Resounding success! The catch had left such a significant impact that the Ojo coach called the timeout. In the interim, some wingnut waltzed out onto the field to congratulate Manta on such an amazing catch. That in itself would have been a nuisance if said wingnut hadn't turned out to be Honjo Masaru, hero to the monkey, who was tearing up and now would have to be benched until he comes down. For me, he's like a max god. But for him, I'm just another fanboy. He doesn't remember me. I won't be overcome by emotion in the middle of a match. Except during painful times, a man shouldn't cry. Well, if that's his decision, may as well honor it. Manta would be in every play moving forward. For a while, the monkey was unbeatable, earning first down after first down until Damon was right in front of Ojo's goal line. Shin came forward to blitz Hiruma, and old Tawara was marking Manta. Manta caught the ball anyway and ripped right around the large lineman and ran right into Ikari and Sakuraba. It didn't matter though, because Sena had run up behind Manta and had now shoved his shoulder into Ikari's gut. Had to hurt. Sena has such bony shoulders, opening a gap for Manta to slip right through. The pair of them scored the first touchdown against the White Knights in the entire Kanto tournament. Musashi got his kick in, and Hiruma was reveling in the rather put out look on Takami's face when there was some kind of Honjo-related ruckus being caused by the idiots on his team, and suddenly some weird otaku bonding between Manta and Sakuraba. And really, what the heck was going on? Get your butts back into formations! A new challenge had been issued, a tag team battle, Sena and Manta versus Shin and Sakuraba. Using the height of the Everest pass for super short passes to neutralize Manta's double backfire, and having Shin's ballista cover Sakuraba's landing had made for an exceptionally effective weapon. The announcer named it the Sagittarius, and it scored another touchdown. The score was now 20-13 in Ojo's favor. The only move they could use in this scenario was a long pass to Manta, and it was obvious to Ojo that Demon had no other options. The White Knights were prepared. Sakuraba stalled the monkey with a bump, which gave Shin just enough time to break through the line to blitz Hiruma. The quarterback would have been skewered immediately if his little light-speed shield hadn't appeared to defend him. Time slowed for a moment as Sena's head turned to the audience, and Hiruma could hear the voice of Kongo Agon in the stands, and then Demon was in front of him, his arm up, blocking Shin's tackle. Blocking Shin's tackle! The block only lasted 0.2 seconds before Demon turned back into Sena, and the running back caved to the pain, allowing Shin's other arm to skewer both Sena and Hiruma. But it was okay, because now Hiruma could count on at least 0.2 seconds of Demon's blocking. The next play was another pass to Yukimitsu this time, but only gained 2 yards. Their next advance was their last, and they needed at least 8 yards to keep attacking. They absolutely needed a long pass. Manta held up his end of the bargain as best he could before he was surrounded by Ojo's safeties, and then Shin was busting through the line again, and Hiruma was gonna get sacked! Except that they weren't coming with a pass. Sena was tearing up the field with ball dodging around bigger and bigger players. Even when it looked like Otawara was going to slam him, Komusubi appeared from nowhere to take the hit for him, and it was a hit. The short mime's nose was bleeding when he'd been hit in the ribs, allowed the running back to continue moving into the clear until Shin got up. Now, theoretically, when 2 objects move at the same speed, the one behind will not catch the one in the front. Shin took that theory and tossed it out the window by diving for Sena and catching the back of a smaller player's shoe with 1 finger. A finger! Sena was close enough to the goal line to get a touchdown by reaching out with the ball, but this was a tag team battle, and Manta wasn't quite strong enough to hold Sakuraba. The tall blonde slapped the ball out of Sena's hands and right into Shin's. It was Ojo's ball. Hiruma took a breath and produced 2 cards from his playbook. One was a safe play, a relatively smart decision. The other was an all-or-nothing gamble that meant Damon's defeat if it failed. The blonde hadn't even finished talking when the death card had been snapped up out of his hand by his raging players and Sena. Of course, when the team tried to pretend that Damon wasn't planning anything, it became completely obvious that Damon was planning something, and the blonde just couldn't help but laugh as his psychologically inept team. Hiruma waltzed over to the White Knights and told them that in this scenario, with Damon's back against the wall, right in front of Ojo's goal line, there was no way the most offensive team in the tournaments could not be planning something. Ideally, they'd get scared and go with a safe run play, but knowing Takami, that was absolutely never going to happen. Sure enough, Ojo set up for the Sagittarius with his 100% success rate. Hiruma put Damon's plan into action. Sena ran up to Mata so that they may both mark Sakuraba, leaving the back virtually empty. And then he blitzed Takami, except Shin was there to tackle him. And then Manta blitzed Takami, except Takami was already starting to throw his pass. Manta took out Takami's leg, knocking them both plus the ball to ground, earning a safety, and was done with all this drama. Hiruma could hear Doboroku mumbling about how this wasn't good for his heart. The The safety earned Damon 2 points and another turn in offense. Now that Hiruma had some room to breathe, he decided to name Sena's new arm attack the Devil Stun Gun. Everyone started being unreasonable and hilarious, which was good because everyone settled back into a good vibe and the Devil Bats set back up to attack and attack and attack. Hiruma himself scored a touchdown, and then Ojo scored, and then Damon scored, and so forth until the final 3 minutes of the game. The score was 34-29 to Ojo. There was only 40 yards to Ojo's goal line. Yukimitsu collapsed. Mata seemed right on the verge of following him. Hiruma told him that they couldn't afford to let Ojo see that he wasn't capable of catching passes anymore. Sena told him that Mata saved them when Sena couldn't move against Shin, so now that Mata couldn't move, Sena would pick up the slack. Sena was shoved into the dirt by Shin and dropped the ball. Mata knocked the ball and Sakuraba out of bounds, and so it was still Damon's ball, and only 3 yards now from Ojo's goal. Then he face-planted right into Honjo-san's arms. Oh, so he does remember Mata. The emotional jolt of this revelation seemed to give the receiver at least one more play's worth of energy. Sena had an idea. The entire team pushes through the center for double bat dive, except Mata, who will be jumping for a pass on the side, and Hiruma will make a split-second decision to go with either a pass or a run. There was 1 minute and 55 seconds left. The first try was a double bat dive. Odawara smacked the kid down mere inches from the goal line, and the dive was stopped for the first time ever. The next one was a super low double bat dive and was crushed by Shin himself 1 centimeter from the goal line. There was 1 minute and 15 seconds left on the clock, and it was Damon's last offense. For this last centimeter, both the shorties would jump. Hiruma handed the ball off to Sena, who would pass it to Manta in the middle of his dive. For a split second, it seemed that Sakuraba had thwarted them. He had never taken his eyes off the monkey. That is, until he almost had the ball. Manta took a page from Shin's book and reached with a single arm. He snatched up the ball from right in front of Sakuraba's eyes and scored a touchdown. 34-35 for Damon. And 1 minute 10 seconds left. Odawara lost it. Musashi's kick was successful, but Ojo managed to push the starting line to the middle of the field. The normally happy-go-lucky Ojo lineman had turned into something of a rabid bear, and all of Damon's key players were exhausted. It was Manta's idea to slap faces to bring back fighting spirit. It was a very Damon-like method. Hiruma was kind of proud. It didn't change the fact that Otawara was still tearing through the Damon players like so much wet paper. Sena took a particularly nasty hit and had to be benched for a bloody nose. The blonde quarterback could see the frustrated helplessness in his ace's eyes and knew that it was going to be rough on him to sit and watch when he could be helping. Damon had another player with the same look in his eyes. Yukimitsu would substitute for Sena even when he had absolutely zero stamina left because he had that look. Shin shredded him. The last remaining seconds were ticking down even as Jumonji and Karoki were struggling to hold Shin just ahead of the goal line. And at this rate, Shin was going to score with 0 seconds left and there would be no way to take back the points. Yukimitsu shoved Shin over the goal with 1 second left on the clock. In allowing the touchdown to succeed, the scholar seized an opportunity for Damon to stay alive. Hiruma was just a little bit honored to serve on the same field as him. There was a loud smack as Sena high-fived Yukimitsu as Demon tagged back onto the field. Takami was a complete son of a bitch and had Otawara perform the kick, which promptly went everywhere. By some miracle, Mata managed to get his arms around it and started to run with it, but yeah, with his exhaustion, there was no way he could get past the Ojo defense and score, and with his lack of control, there was no way he could pass to Sena on the other side of the field. As long as Manta held the ball, chances of victory were 0%, and Hiruma couldn't communicate to get Sena moving fast enough. Except Sena was already moving. Demon was already moving. Of the original Sena trio, Demon had always known Hiruma just a little bit better than the others. He knew what had been going through the blonde quarterback's mind and moved based on that. He moved to accept a handoff from Manta, which gave Hiruma a chance to analyze their surroundings and figure out their next move. If Demon was to get the ball all the way down the field to score in a single play, then the rest of Ojo needed to be distracted, even if only for a moment. So Hiruma called for a huddle of himself, Sena, Manta, and Taki right in the middle of the play. There was no time to explain his idea. He could only fold his arms across his chest as if he was holding the ball. He felt a surge of relief when the monkey and the idiot mimicked him, and the four of them broke huddle to run. Logically, Ice Shield 21 would have the ball, but Takami couldn't bet on that. It was the exact type of move in which Damon would do the exact opposite of what anybody else would do. With this thought, Ojo was frozen with doubt for just long enough to let Demon slip past them. There was only the last boss now. The very last Shin versus Sena. The first strike from Shin had him catching the back of Sena's glove with his ring and pinky finger. The glove tore clean off, but Demon had been pulled significantly off balance and was falling. Those gloves had been Hiruma's very first present to Sena from defeating Shin the first time. Watching the linebacker shred them made Hiruma want to rip his throat out. It made Demon angry too, and Demon's anger didn't let him fall completely to the ground. Instead, he regained his balance and continued running. Straight into Shin. Demon used the Devil Bat Ghost to cut right. Shin extended his arm. Demon jumped. Shin re-extended his arm. Demon blocked. Using a combination of the Devil Bat Dive and the Devil Stun Gun to ricochet off of Shin's arm for just an instant, forced Demon's body past light speed, past human limits, into the world of 4.1 seconds of the 40-yard dash, and for that one moment, Kobayakawa Sena flew. Hiruma swore he fell in love with him all over again. The referee declared a touchdown, and a great scream of victory tore past Sena's lips. The perfect player had been defeated by the Demon.